In tune with industrial development, downtown development is also a pertinent issue. Driving along the streets of other shoreline communities such as Old Saybrook, Madison, Guilford, it's difficult not to feel frustrated with the state of Clinton's downtown area. What ideas do you have to bring a competitive sense of vibrancy to our downtown area? And this question will go to Mrs. Goupil.
So a long time ago, we started an organization called Placemakers. I've since stepped away from it, but that was the first step to creating the dynamics in the downtown that needs to take place. Again, we need to market the downtown. We need to have directional signage when you come off each of the gateways into the community, directing people to downtown. But you also have to have some sort of vibrancy in the downtown to attract people, and that takes a relationship with the state again to look at some of these sites and see what is feasible for wastewater on the site so that people can expand to a higher and better use. So if our zoning aligns with expanding to a higher and better use, that makes sure that we need to know that the soils are developable, and for this reason that we applied for a grant. It was just in this last year for wastewater capacity at Unilever with potential into the downtown. That really is the only way that we're going to be able to develop these sites much further and much more expansively and have the vibrancy that we're interested in.
Thank you, Mrs. Goupil. Mr. Carr?
I've heard the issue of wastewater for some time. A lot of these empty storefronts were once not empty, and we're quite in compliance with wastewater issues. I think that our problem is we've made it too hard to keep a small business running in Clinton through regulation and taxes, especially taxes. I know I keep coming back to the same thing, but it is the keystone of an awful lot of things in this town. And if we can't get a handle on the taxes, I mean, if you were deciding where you were going to start your business and you saw that chart, would you bring it to Clinton, or would you put it in Westbrook, or would you put it in Old Saybrook? So I mean, some of these things are pretty obvious, and we're not at a competitive advantage. We're certainly, and we may be at a competitive disadvantage. We've got to find ways to make what we have seem more valuable so we can justify those mill rates, or we have to bring them down. The other part about these empty storefronts is not only are they not producing tax revenue, but they're not providing jobs, and they're not providing the convenience. Many of us have to go to other towns to get things we used to get here. I was trying to find a cobbler the other day. I've been to Brantford to find somebody to work on shoes. There used to be a cobbler that was, down on Main Street. I don't know why these things go away, but the fact is that keeping a small business going in Clinton has gotten to be very difficult. And we have to be mindful of that. I mean, one of the things that the EDC did was we started inviting people into Clinton who go to Clinton Crossing. 4 million people in Clinton Crossing, and the basic blocking and tackling of inviting them to come and visit our restaurants and see all of our events was not being done until 3 years ago when the EDC created the restaurant guide. And we now have standees at Clinton Crossing, and we're going to have posters up for Christmas in Clinton, so that there are things that we can do to take advantage of the resources that we have. We've got a beautiful harbor. One side of that standee showed people that just 5 minutes away there's this beautiful harbor. So we've got to draw people into Clinton, not only from Clinton Crossing, but also from the Hammonasset State Park. There are 1.5 million people who go to Hammonasset State Park every year. We've got to figure out ways to make those people come in. But the problem is it's chicken and egg. We also need the kinds of businesses that they need to come in to go to.
Thank you, Mr. Carr. Mrs. Goupil, if you'd like a rebuttal.
I agree that we absolutely need to be attracting people from the surrounding communities who can't completely rely on our current businesses to support the community. So we do have the outlook of looking at Clinton and then the regional areas and what's going to be attractive. So we have a marketing feasibility study for the town that has not been implemented yet, and that is the first go-to. You've got to look at your data and what is marketable for the town and what are developers looking at, and then rezone for those areas as well. Then you have to go out and find these developers. You need to create tax structures that make it attractive to the developers coming in. We have the opportunity to create the assessment deferral programs, which is on a sliding scale where people can come in and they can expand, and then they can gradually start off with lower taxes and gradually it goes to the standard taxes they have, but it gives them opportunity to build their business and accommodate to the typical tax structure of the town.
Mr. Carr?
You know, the tax program that she just spoke about is a great idea as long as it doesn't give an advantage to a newcomer over a business that's been here. The key is to try to find businesses that complement businesses that are already here. By that I mean, we don't try to get another pizza parlor. We have plenty of pizza parlors. But we do need a cobbler. And there's some other things that, that we would like to have that would make Clinton more livable. There's just services that people, have to go to North Branford or to Guilford or someplace else. And there's no reason that we shouldn't be able to attract and support and sustain those kinds of businesses on Main Street in Clinton, to make Main Street in Clinton a viable, thriving downtown that's as good as any on the shoreline, better.
Thank you, Mr. Carr. The next question will be directed to Mr. Carr. Are you in favor of the current ballot question adopting the town manager form of local governance? If this change is adopted by the local electorate this November 7th, what effect would it have on your plans for governing Clinton, Connecticut as its first selectman?
Well, I think the first question is the people of Clinton want a town manager. Whether I want a town manager or not, or whether some of my colleagues want one or not, is probably not nearly as important as whether you want one or not. I see a lot of advantages to a town manager. I see an expense, but I think the advantages far outweigh the expenses. I mean, every week that goes by is $20,000 of opportunity cost of taxes that we should be getting from Mill Pond. A town manager who could have made that happen, who could have salvaged that development, would have paid for himself or herself in about 8 weeks, for 1 year. I mean, it's really critical that we have some professional town management. But that's my point of view. I think in the end, it's really up to you. The bigger problem are the flaws in this particular proposal, and even the coalition that I think has come out in favor of the town manager has said that these flaws render this particular ballot question very dangerous, and people probably should vote no on it. The problem I have is trying to learn something from that, trying to find out if people really are against the town manager or just against this proposal. And one of the things I'm proposing to do is to have an exit poll, so we can ask people if they voted, did they vote yes or no? If they voted no, did they vote no because they don't want a town manager, or did they vote no because the proposal is flawed? I hate to bring back the same proposal over and over again if people really don't want it. I mean, people get tired of going to the polls to vote on something that they thought they said no to. On the other hand, this has been so badly botched that I'm not sure what we're going to learn from the vote on November the 7th. I would encourage the people who are here tonight to probably vote no on the 7th, and we're going to have to regroup after this election and try to decide how we can salvage some of the proposals from this Charter Revision Commission.
Thank you. And now Mrs. Goupil.
Kirk Carr and I have both been on the same page on this. We've watched what's unfolded with the Board of Selectmen regarding the charter, and the implications are quite dire. If it is voted yes, it requires us to go from almost a 2-week window. It would be 30 days from the vote to 2 weeks when the new Board of Selectmen walk in the door to implement both the town manager and town planner, and also get rid of the Board of Finance. How are we going to actually finance this town manager with that structure? How are we going to advertise, interview, and find the appropriate candidate? Most of the towns who have gone through this process, it's about an 8-month process to find the appropriate candidate. I believe a town manager would bring the due diligence and the professionalism to town hall that's required. They would also help with the issue of partisanship in town. I think that's a real issue still. Looking forward to the boards and commissions that we have on the ballot. I can see a lot of divides are still going to be created. How are we going to get past that within the next 2 years? Another issue I see with the charter currently as it is if we're going to get rid of a Board of Finance structure. Is a Board of Selectmen 4 people enough to be doing the due diligence of what's required for budgeting for the year? I would strongly recommend that we reconstitute this reversion committee, the charter revision committee, immediately, but also look at whether a town council form of government makes sense that goes from something of 7 to 9 town council, so that you have more oversight, you have more professionalism at the table to address it. I also think that we need to look at putting within our charter some ethics. We currently have a very weak ethics rules, and it's outside the charter. This would give us the opportunity to have code of conducts for meetings, and it gives us some ability to actually deal with some of the issues that have been happening in town.
Thank you. Mr. Carr, would you like a rebuttal?
I think, we have talked at some length. I think we agree mostly on the issue of a town manager. I think the real sad thing is that I feel that the Board of Selectmen have really let us down through this process and have not been particularly helpful or very statesmanlike, and I really regret that.
Ms. Goupil, would you like to add anything?